The difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person isn't always money, not their background, nor is it luck. Sometimes, it's simply how they see themselves. Napoleon Hill once wrote in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich, "Whatever the mind can do, whatever the mind can imagine and believe, it can achieve." But if that's true, why are so many people still stuck in lives they don't want, while others create opportunities for themselves? If you've ever thought about something and you've accomplished it, please comment with a 1. Today's story will answer that question. This is the story of a beggar who completely changed his life because of one sentence. Once upon a time, at a crowded train station, there lived an old beggar who lived on the pity of passing passengers. Every day, as soon as the sun rose, he appeared at his usual corner of the platform. He sat on an old wooden bench. In front of him was a tattered hat. To anyone who passed by, he would hold out his hand and say, "Please help me a little." That was his life. Year after year. No hope, no goal, no future. Then, one day, everything changed. A train had just stopped. People began pouring onto the platform. There was a businessman. He wore a perfectly tailored suit. His shoes were gleaming. He walked confidently. He had a calm demeanor. The beggar saw him immediately and thought, "This man must be very rich. If I ask him today, maybe I'll get more money than usual." With that hope in mind, he hurried closer. He held out his hand. But what happened next was completely unexpected. The businessman didn't take out his wallet. He didn't give any money. Instead, he looked straight into the beggar's eyes and asked, "Have you always received from others?" The beggar stammered, "Yes." The businessman continued, "Have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar froze. His whole life. He stammered, "Sir, while I have nothing to give to others." The businessman smiled slightly. Then he said something. The beggar would remember the words for the rest of his life. "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you have no right to demand anything." The beggar was speechless. The businessman continued, "I am a businessman. I believe in exchange. If you can give me something, I can give you something. But if you have nothing to give, then I can't give you anything either." Having said that, he boarded the train. The doors closed. The train slowly rolled away. But the beggar remained motionless, as if time had stopped. He felt no anger. He felt no offense, because deep down, he knew the man had just spoken the truth. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay staring at the ceiling, repeating those words over and over. "If you want to receive, first you must give?" He wondered. "But what can I give? I have nothing." The next day, he continued to think. The day after that, he still thought. For the first time in years, he began to think about what he could give. Then, on the third day, he saw them. Small, ordinary. No one else noticed them. But to him, they were like an answer. An idea flashed through his mind. "If someone gives me money, I'll give them a flower." He picked a few, put them in the basket beside him, and waited. A woman walked by. She dropped a coin into his hat. The beggar smiled. The woman was surprised. But she took it and smiled back. That moment was strange. For the first time in years, the beggar felt he was more than just a receiver. He was also a giver. The following days passed, and then the magic began to happen. More people stopped. More people gave money. More people smiled. Some even came to him every morning to receive a flower. Gradually, he realized a pattern. When there were flowers, he received more money. When the flowers ran out, the money decreased significantly. And for the first time in his life, he understood something. People don't like just giving. They like exchanging value. A few weeks later, he met the businessman again, on the same train. At the same station. This time, he ran up with a smile on his face. "Sir, if you give me money, I will give you flowers." The businessman laughed. He gave the money, received the flowers, then said, "You understand now. Today, you are no longer a beggar." The beggar was stunned. He was a businessman? But as the train departed, "Am I really a businessman?" Then suddenly, he understood. A truth that changed his life forever. People don't give me money out of pity. They pay for the value I bring. I'm no longer begging. I'm exchanging. If so, I'm doing business. That moment, his identity changed. He no longer saw himself as a beggar. He began to see himself as a creator of value. And as his self-perception changed, everything else began to change. That very day, he left the train station, never to beg again. He used his meager savings to buy flowers. Then he sold them. Every day, he learned a little more, tried a little harder, improved a little more. 6 months later, the businessman stepped off the train at his usual station. Suddenly, a well-dressed man approached him. He held out his hand. "Hello." The businessman looked at him. He felt a sense of familiarity, but didn't recognize him. The man smiled. "We've met before." The businessman thought for a few seconds. Then his eyes widened. "Impossible. You were the beggar back then." The man laughed. "Yes, but today I'm no longer a beggar. I own a flower shop." The businessman was astonished. "What has changed you?" The florist smiled, then replied, "You've made me realize something. I was never really a beggar. I only thought of myself as a beggar, and that thought has kept me stuck for years." The two men shook hands. This time, not giver and receiver, not rich and poor, but two businessmen, two people who understood the value of exchange. And that's the lesson of the story. Life doesn't change when circumstances change. Life begins to change when how you see yourself changes. If you see yourself as a victim, you'll always wait for someone else to save you. If you see yourself as a creator of value, he will start looking for opportunities everywhere. The beggar didn't become rich when he found more money. He became rich when he stopped thinking of himself as a beggar. And perhaps that's also a lesson we all need to remember. If you find this story good and want to see other meaningful stories, please subscribe to support the channel. Thank you very much.